The saucer eased down behind Terminal 3 at John F. Kennedy International Airport, looking to the sleepy ground crew on the late-night shift like an unusually shiny food truck that had taken a wrong exit. A door irised open, a ramp unfurled, and out minced a creature who resembled a 6-foot lime-green flamingo wearing a tasteful trench coat. He had 2 elbows in each arm, a neck that swiveled like a periscope, and eyes the color of coffee that had been left on the burner too long. A collapsible hat sprouted on his head with a faint thwick. He held a printed guide titled Earth Manners for the Adventurous Intercivilizationist, 4th edition, slightly outdated, and a pouch that clinked ominously. The alien's name, rendered in phonetic English, was Blorgax of the Spiraling Ridge Nebula, first-time tourist, part-time astrophilosopher, and passionate collector of souvenirs. He had practiced his greeting on the flight. "Salutations, Earth host," he burbled to the first human he met. A baggage handler slurping coffee from a foam cup, and the handler just stared. So Blorgax flipped madly through the guide until he found the relevant section. When in doubt, it read, "Smile, tip generously, and move on." So Blorgax smiled, bearing 2 rows of glow-in-the-dark molars. Then he reached into his pouch and drew out a shimmering pebble the size of a walnut. To him, it was nothing special, just a bit of compressed stardust scraped off an asteroid near Delta Trianguli. But it sparkled with swirling blues and purples and emitted a pleasant chime, like wind through crystal goblets. He pressed it into the handler's palm, nodded, and strutted toward the arrivals hall. The baggage handler, whose name was Pete, nearly spilled his coffee. "What the? Is this glass?" He bit it experimentally, thought of dental bills, reconsidered, and tucked it in his pocket. He would later learn from the frantic calls of a mineralogist cousin that 1 sliver of that rock could pay off his mortgage, buy a boat, and fund daily lobster dinners for a decade. At that moment, however, Pete just assumed it was some overpriced duty-free tchotchke. Inside the terminal, Blorgax consulted the guide again. Earth visitors are advised to line up at customs, collect luggage, and refrain from vaporizing contents of pockets unless asked. Simple enough. The customs officer squinted at Blorgax's passport, which was printed on something that looked suspiciously like kale, but smelled of cinnamon. Occupation: wanderer of the wobbling frontiers. Reason for visit: leisure, light shopping, maybe a theme park. "Anything to declare?" the officer asked, eyeing the trench coat, which bulged like a piñata filled with paperweights. Blorgax assumed declare meant present a token of gratitude. So he unfurled 3 more cosmic stones onto the counter. They spun lazily in midair, tinting the fluorescent lights turquoise. The officer's jaw hung open. Right. Next! He shoved Blorgax through with the enthusiasm of a bouncer clearing a dance floor at 3 a.m. Minutes later, half the airport staff clustered around the stones, snapping selfies and Googling how to value meteorite stat. Blorgax emerged at curbside, where yellow taxis honked in choral rage. He waved. A cab screeched to a halt. The driver, Mo, poked his head out, eyeing the lanky fluorescent tourist. "I desire locomotion," Blorgax said with cheerful formality, sliding into the back seat. "Destination: the Grand Illustrative Hotel, Midtown. Meter starts now," Mo grunted. Traffic crawled. Blorgax, fascinated by each billboard, peppered Mo with questions. "Explain all-you-can-eat shrimp fest. Must one acquire an empty stomach license? What is a fest?" Mo, unsure if he was being pranked, simply mumbled, "People eat shrimp. A lot." When they reached the hotel, the meter read $72.50. Blorgax rummaged in his pouch, found a particularly handsome shard, and thanked Mo with a flourish. The driver nearly objected. There was no way that rock covered $70. Then, the stone's surface rippled like liquid opal. Mo blinked, shut up, and accepted the tip as a half-dozen parked drivers craned their necks. Traffic remained jammed for 3 extra minutes, while every cabbie within earshot formulated a plan to coax strange glowing rocks from fluorescent travelers. Inside the hotel lobby, chandeliers glittered over marble floors, and a polished concierge named Lydia welcomed Blorgax. "May I see your reservation?" she asked. "Alas," Blorgax confessed, "I have none. I was informed Earth's hospitality blooms spontaneously." Lydia's practiced smile flickered. "We do still need a credit card." "A credit card?" Blorgax consulted his guide. It defined credit as permission to owe humans money indefinitely, and that sounded like an honor reserved for dignitaries. He had something better. He produced a tennis ball-sized nodule, granting lavender light. Would this suffice? The lobby hushed. A bellhop whistled. Lydia's eyes widened. She wondered how much that glowing geode would fetch on eBay. She couldn't just seize a guest's shiny space ball, but the guidebook had said tipping was polite. She coughed elegantly. "Certainly, sir. We will, store this as a deposit." She waved the stone into a safe and handed Blorgax a sweet upgrade, plus a fruit basket big enough to feed a platoon. Elevator doors slid shut behind him. Lydia exhaled slowly, then called her geologist aunt. Up in the suite, Blorgax marveled at complimentary soaps shaped like seashells. He admired the minibar's snacks and assembled them into a sculpture commemorating the moons of his home planet. He tried on slippers and programmed the television, which introduced him to game shows, cooking competitions, and dramatic commercials for something called insurance. Fascinated, he scribbled notes. Earth value system. 1. Cancelled coverage leads to frowning actors. 2. Tacos produce spontaneous salsa dances. 3. Yelling plinko is apparently lucrative. After a power nap lasting 12 seconds, ample rest for a spiraling ridge native, he set off to explore. First stop, a coffee shop. The barista, pierced, tired, and fueled by espresso fumes, asked, "What'll it be?" Blorgax scanned the chalkboard. "Grande cosmic foam swirl," he declared, assuming cosmic was a standard flavor. The barista shrugged. There was no such drink, but one could always improvise. She poured cold brew, added 3 scoops of whipped cream, drizzled caramel, sprinkled cocoa powder, and topped it with edible glitter from a unicorn-themed birthday party left over in the back. She slid the sparkling monstrosity across the counter. "That'll be $9.50. Blorgax, in awe, studied the concoction glittering like a nebula in a cup. He deposited a sliver of star ore, no bigger than a fingernail, into the tip jar. It rang like a tiny gong. Phones emerged, flashbulbs popped, Instagram feeds erupted. An interstellar latte. Tip goals. What is this thing? The barista nearly wept. Earlier, she'd considered quitting to join a goat yoga retreat. Now she clung to the jar like it was a newborn. The manager, sensing PR gold, printed a sign. "Cosmic rocks accepted here!" Blorgax continued down the street, where he encountered a street magician pretending to levitate. The magician's secret rig required a hidden seat, a sturdy plate, and intense calf strength. Blorgax, however, thought the human was performing actual thrusterless hover technology. Enthralled, he applauded with his elbow-like wrists. The magician descended, bowed dramatically, and extended a hat. Blorgax dropped in a chunk of ore that pulsed cerulean. The magician, used to copper pennies, almost fainted. Passers-by gasped. Somebody shouted, "It's worth thousands!" The magician abandoned his rig to hug Blorgax. The rig collapsed, revealing the trick to the crowd. No one cared. They were too busy snapping pictures of the rock. Soon, rumors swept midtown. A flamboyant, lime-colored tourist was flinging priceless minerals like confetti. Taxi dispatch radios buzzed. News bloggers typed feverishly. Two men in dark suits from an agency that officially does not exist left their donuts half-eaten and raced toward the epicenter. Blorgax remained oblivious. His guide mentioned Earth's magnificent theaters of consumption. So he entered a department store the size of a small nation. He sampled cologne that smelled like seared pineapple, modeled jeans much too short for his double knees, and bought 6 souvenir t-shirts emblazoned with puns he didn't understand. Donut stopped believing. At checkout, the cashier said, "That's 204 talon weighty threes." Blorgax hesitated. Earth numbers made sense. Base 10, manageable. But he still had no Earth currency. Regretfully, he said, "I have no rectangular fibers." He offered instead 3 thumb-sized pebbles swirling with stardust. The cashier called the manager, who called corporate, who called legal, who called accounting, who couldn't find a line item for intergalactic tender. Meanwhile, customers queued behind Blorgax started live streaming. Memes blossomed. Photos of celebrities' red carpet outfits bedazzled with the caption, "I wish the green dude tipped me." An assistant manager decided the easiest route was to accept. She rang up the sale as gift card redemption and pocketed the stones for inventory testing. Within 15 minutes, every employee in the building updated their LinkedIn. Skills. Meteorite valuation. Outside, Blorgax paused on the sidewalk to consult his guide. He had fulfilled several recommended earthly experiences, flagged a taxi, savored caffeine, shopped locally, and supported performance arts, though he still wasn't sure why the magician ran off hugging a rock. Next on the list was dining tipping, 15 to 20%. He considered. He had been tipping 100 to 500% in mass alone. Perhaps he was overshooting. He found a diner glowing neon pink and slid into a booth. A waitress named Marge brought a menu laminated against both grease and tomato apocalypse. "What can I get you, sweetie?" The options baffled him. "Moon over my hammy" sounded like an astronomical incident. Disco fries implied mandatory dancing. So, he requested chef's surprise. The cook, intoxicated by creative license, produced a triple-stacked pancake burger, topped with fried pickles and dusted with powdered sugar. Marge delivered it with a forklift's dedication. Blorgax tasted it. His taste buds performed a backflip, texted home for reinforcements, then organized a marching band. It was exquisite. He devoured everything, including the parsley garnish. Total bill, $18.60. He placed a marble-sized comet core on the table and ambled toward the exit. Marge caught up, panting. "Sir, you forgot your change. I insisted it be included." He replied politely, but she looked at the gem. It rotated in place, projecting faint constellations onto the formica. "Never mind. Have a nice night, hun." She wiped a tear, placed the rock in her apron, and immediately called her teenage son to inform him college tuition was taken care of, so he could stop pretending he liked lacrosse for scholarship purposes. Back at the hotel, Blorgax rode the elevator with 2 men in black suits, sunglasses at midnight. "Nice trench coat," one muttered. "Custom." "Indeed," Blorgax said brightly. "Made from recycled star whale corsetry." The agents exchanged a look, reserved for moments when the universe serves you a story nobody at headquarters will believe. One discreetly scanned the alien with a handheld spectrometer, disguised as a pocket square. The readout flashed. Composition. Unknown. Potential threat. Maybe. Coolness. 97%. They tailed him to his suite. Blorgax, perceiving them only as polite escorts, offered each a pebble. Agency protocol forbade accepting gifts, but protocol bent in the face of shimmering, off-world basalt. They slipped the stones into their inner pockets. Inside the room, Blorgax finally opened the minibar and discovered mini bottles, which according to Earth tradition contained spirits. Assuming spirits meant friendly ghosts, he attempted conversation with the liquor. Receiving no reply, he poured the neon liquids into the bathtub, hoping to create a relaxation pool. The combined fumes peeled paint off the ceiling. Satisfied, he soaked his feet and phoned room service to request more ghost essence. Meanwhile, panic gripped certain circles. Mineralogists from 3 universities, reading social media posts, abandoned symposiums to sprint through Manhattan, clutching catalogs. An investment banker offered $1 million to anyone who could bring him just one of those cosmic skittles. The 2 agents updated HQ, who dispatched a hazmat team, an economist, and a branding consultant. Morning dawned. Blorgax attended a tour of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where he misheard Lone Exhibition as Lone Expectation. During a demonstration of ancient coins, he placed a heat-glimmering asteroid flake onto a pedestal in interest. The curator swooned. Guards gathered. A frantic phone call reached the director, who envisioned gala tickets selling for obscene sums if they could keep the alien engaged. By noon, headlines screamed, "Alien philanthropist, showering NYC with space jewels." Hashtag Jones Tipster from the stars trended worldwide. Jewelry stores saw customers pawning heirlooms to raise money for any random blue pebble. Speculators opened a Blorgax futures market, selling options on pebbles not yet received. Throughout, Blorgax remained blissful, convinced he was merely practicing model etiquette. The guidebook had insisted generosity greased social wheels, and Earth wheels, he noticed, needed a lot of grease. Horns blared, lines formed, people frowned at each other's shoes. He was doing them all a favor. Around mid-afternoon, he visited Central Park, where a carousel spun horses to organ music. Children laughed, parents clutched coffee, pigeons plotted crimes. He bought a cotton candy bigger than his torso and shared it with a bemused Great Dane. Then he tipped the operator with a shard that hummed an ancient lullaby. The operator quit on the spot to follow my dreams of interpretive kite dancing. At Bethesda Fountain, he encountered a mime painted silver, pretending to be a statue. Blorgax, unaware of the performance, assumed the mime was a malfunctioning Earth being. He pressed a rock into the mime's rigid palm as a repair resource. The mime remained frozen, professional pride, until Blorgax walked away, at which point she shrieked, broke character, and sprinted upstream like a salmon, scattering tourists. It couldn't last. That evening, a convoy of black SUVs rolled up to the hotel. Out stepped the agents, the mineralogists, an IRS auditor, the United Nations liaison for extraterrestrial affairs, recently created, never yet used, and a bespectacled etiquette historian clutching Emily Post. They rode the elevator up, practicing speeches. They knocked. Blorgax opened, wearing a bathrobe emblazoned with the hotel logo and a shower cap shaped like the Chrysler Building. "Greetings, Earth delegation," he said. "Have you come for fruit basket?" They filed in. The liaison cleared his throat. "Sir, assuming sir is appropriate, we welcome you. We just have queries. For instance, are these?" He produced a polychromatic nugget. "Truly gifts, or a form of currency, or perhaps weapons." "Gifts," Blorgax beamed. "Tokens of appreciation for splendid commerce." A hush. The IRS auditor's pupils dilated. "Gifts," he whispered, already drafting IRS Form 709 in his mind. The mineralogists hummed like tuning forks. The etiquette historian, trembling, asked, "On your planet, what is the standard tip?" "Oh, variable," Blorgax said. "Our service industry thrives on cosmic rock gratuities." Small favors earn a micro-meteor. Lifetime loyalty garners a Suncore pellet. The historian nodded gravely. And the monetary value? Monetary? Blorgax fluttered his eyelids. These are geologically ubiquitous in my quadrant. Children use them for hopscotch. The economist fainted. The liaison tried a different tack. While we appreciate your generosity, the sudden influx of rare cosmic minerals is destabilizing commodities markets. Gold is down. Quartz collectors are rioting, and several hedge funds have collapsed out of envy. Could you possibly tip with something less, potent? Blorgax frowned, two antennae wilting slightly. But your customs guide insisted on generosity. The historian flipped through the 4th edition, slightly outdated, and discovered a correction slip pinned between pages. Note: Earth-tipping norms generally involve modest percentages of the local currency. Over-tipping with rare extraterrestrial matter is discouraged. The slip was marked, added in 5th edition. You have the old edition, she said. Outdated, Blorgax moaned. This ruins the whole trip! Have I caused humiliation? Not exactly, the liaison said, glancing at the mineralogists clutching samples like newborns. But perhaps you could limit further tipping to small tokens. Say, coins, paper bills. Blorgax brightened. Paper! I have some. I bought souvenirs. He fetched the department store receipt and tore small rectangles from it. These. Close enough, they decided. They left him with a roll of 20s, a crash course on percentages, and an invitation to address the United Nations on responsible intergalactic tourism. The following day, Blorgax tried the new system. At breakfast, he paid the bill with human cash and left a textbook 18% tip. The waiter stared in disappointment, clearly having hoped for an asteroid chunk. The diner's mood deflated faster than a bouncy castle at a porcupine convention. Across town, Mo the cabbie read the news and kicked a tire mournfully. Lydia the concierge considered pawning the glowing deposit, but learned the IRS was auditing cosmic rock recipients. Her weekend suddenly looked less diamond-flecked. Social media turned sour. Alien tightwad now tipping like average Joe! Headlines judged, interstellar gift economy crashes. The futures market imploded spectacularly, wiping out profits of anyone who had invested heavily in anticipated Blorgax generosity. Amid the turmoil, Blorgax felt terrible. He called a press conference atop the Empire State Building's observation deck. Reporters crowded, phones raised. Blorgax addressed them, voice echoing across Midtown. Honored Earth friends, I have erred. I sought to respect your customs, yet misapplied them. Magnanimity is universal, but context is contextual. The crowd blinked. He continued. Therefore, I propose compromise. I shall present one final gift to all of Earth equally. He produced from his pouch a gem the size of a baseball, swirling with galaxies inside. He held it aloft. The air tasted like peppermint. A hush fell so complete one could hear tourists' heartbeats. Then he wound up and hurled the gem skyward. It rose past the spire, glimmered, burst noiselessly, dissolving into 1,000,000 micro shards. They drifted like bioluminescent snowflakes, spreading over the city, harmless, non-collectible, but breathtakingly beautiful. Children squealed, adults gasped, couples kissed, stockbrokers forgot mergers. For one shimmering minute, New York glittered under a man-made aurora. Then the flakes faded into daylight. Blorgax bowed. Now, no market may hoard my gift, yet all have received it. The liaison wiped a tear. The mineralogist clapped politely. The IRS auditor reluctantly moved his clipboard to applaud. And even the agents smiled, though they swiftly remembered they weren't paid to emote and put on sunglasses. Satisfied, Blorgax checked his guide's final note. Depart gracefully, leaving only footprints and somewhat bewildered memories. He summoned his saucer via remote, a key fob shaped like a rubber duck, thanked everyone, promised to leave a 5-star review on the solar system's travel site, and soared into the clouds. Afterward, New Yorkers debated whether the spectacle had been real, mass hallucination, or guerrilla marketing for a streaming service. The cosmic rocks already distributed retained their value. Some recipients sold them to labs, others framed them. A few used them as emotional support paperweights. Pete the baggage handler paid off his mortgage. Mo bought his boat and named it Fair from the Stars. And Marge funded her son's college only for him to change majors to geology, citing destiny. As for Blorgax, he zipped across the void, humming Earth commercial jingles, scribbling revisions for the 6th edition of his guide. The first note read, "Humans prefer percentages, not planets." The second, "If you throw a sky-wide glitter bomb, always tip the janitors." And the third, underlined twice, "Bring new trench coat. This one smells of burnt syrup, car exhaust, and success."